All right, good evening, everyone. It's Sunday evening, of course, and we have the last bout of significant winter weather coming through the region, starting tonight and through tomorrow. Still a bit of a question of when it's going to get above freezing across parts of the area here, which will either dramatically reduce your ice amounts or dramatically increase your ice amounts across parts of the area. Now, if you are on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up button, that like button. Comment where you're from. Share this with your friends and family. That'd be awesome. If you're over on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's basically liking a page on Facebook. It's just like it. So hit that subscribe button, hit all the notifications. You'll be notified every time we go live or post a video over there on YouTube as well. All right, so what you see on your screen here is the latest watches or the warnings, advisories. We're going to go through these each individually here. So all this here in, make sure I get it all on your screen here. So all this in the tan color, that is winter weather advisories, all the way from parts of northern Texas, Wichita Falls, over to Paris, Texas, most of Oklahoma, basically eastern half of Oklahoma or so, northwestern half of Arkansas, most of Missouri, and getting up towards most of Illinois as well, and southeastern Iowa due to icing. Okay, anywhere in, this is the National Weather Service, of course. They're thinking anywhere from a glaze to up to a quarter inch, especially as you get down here towards southern Missouri into northern Arkansas. Now, as you get towards the blue here, so Tulsa is actually doing an experiment with some impact-based warnings. So the reason why you have winter storm warnings here in the south of Tulsa here towards Ardmore, towards McAllister, up towards Muskogee, is because it's not going to be as impactful as this ice storm warning over here. You're expecting it's going to be impactful though, but you're only going to get up to possibly a quarter inch, maybe a little bit higher across this area. That's still going to cause a lot of problems across the area there. As you get over here to the pink, we have ice storm warning in effect starting at 10 o'clock tonight, going through 3 o'clock tomorrow. Ice storm warning basically for Fort. Let me zoom in here. So Fayetteville, Springdale, Huntsville, down to Prairie Grove, Fort Smith, down to Greenwood, Paris, Clarksville, Russellville, Hector, up to Jasper. Just Huntsville. Trying to zoom in here, Mountainburg. Just a few areas here that's under that ice storm warning. Okay. Will these be expanded tonight into tomorrow morning? It is possible. I've been trying to warn you guys for about a week now that this was on the table. This possible icing was on the table as we get out of that cold, very cold Arctic air mass, and we undergo a pattern change. The Arctic air is slow to move out of the way, and we're going to have warm and moist air trying to run up and over this cold air, and that just creates a ton of problems across the area here. So just for an example, if I can get my mouse to work, there we go. This is what I showed everybody about a week ago, and we're basically about spot on. So we've been warning you guys for about a week now, and we've been talking about it over the supporter hub for weeks as we get out of this pattern that it's going to get possibly icy across the area. So let's get into a few things here real quick before we get into ice accumulations. All right, let's go over to the Weather Prediction Center site. So this is their official forecast on the probability of ice greater than a quarter inch, which is ice storm warning criteria, greater than a quarter inch here. So anywhere in the blue, 10 to 40% chance of seeing greater than a quarter inch of ice. So eastern Oklahoma, far western Arkansas, northern Arkansas, over towards southern Missouri, just west of St. Louis, basically south of I-44 here in Missouri, have the better chance of seeing some significant accumulations of ice. As you get into the green here, you got 40 to 70% chance of seeing greater than 20 or a quarter inch of ice. And then if you look really closely, there is a few little red blotches in there of greater than 70% chance of greater than a quarter inch of ice. All right, so we're going to look at the probabilistic winter storm severity index from the Weather Prediction Center here. So let's move down here and we're going to go over each one of these. So minor impacts. Expect a few inconveniences to daily life, winter driving conditions. That's one thing with this. This is going to be no doubt about it. Okay. As this moisture starts coming in, which we've already had reports over northwestern Arkansas, Oklahoma, there's actually a mesoscale discussion out from the Storm Prediction Center that we're going to go over. That's the rain and the light to moderate freezing rain coming into southern parts of Oklahoma, which models we're not picking up on this much moisture coming in, so we're already overdoing it, and now models are a little bit too warm still compared to ground truth temperatures. So as this starts falling, it's got to come through some drier air. Our dew points are in the single digits to possibly teens across most of the area, and we have temperatures in the 20s to low 30s. So as this moisture comes in, it's basically got to saturate the bottom layer of the atmosphere, which is basically to the surface. So as we start saturating the column here, the dew point will start coming up, but then your ground temperature will start coming down. So once that meets in the middle, which basically it means wet bulbing. So there's a wet bulb temperature where the dew point and then the temperature basically meet. Okay. And I was checking on my weather station has it here. So I have a dew point of 9 right now. I have a temperature of 28. My wet bulb temperature is 23 degrees. That's where it thinks the dew point and the temperature will meet. Okay, so 23 degrees. That is very if we get freezing rain and it gets down to 23 degrees, all bets are off on everything because it will stick to everything. It doesn't matter if it's 29, 28 to 23 degrees outside. The ground is absolutely basically frozen out there. National Weather Service and parts of in Springfield, they have a frost depth of 4 inches below the ground. That means it's basically frozen from the ground level to 4 inches down in the dirt. Okay, so the ground temperature is super cold. The concrete, asphalt, everything's super cold. It's going to stick immediately and create major travel problems across the area. So minor impacts. Expect few inconveniences to daily life. Okay, so and plus winter driving conditions. So moderate impacts. Expect disruptions to daily life, hazardous driving conditions, closures, and disruptions to infrastructure may occur. About disruptions to infrastructure means electricity. There's going to be possible disruptions with your electric. Okay, so let's get up to this map here that's zoomed all the way out here to the whole Earth, basically. All right, so this is the probabilities of minor impacts. You see dark reds basically everywhere from eastern Oklahoma through northwestern Arkansas, all the way through parts of southern to south central Missouri. Okay, this is likelihood of moderate impacts. We're talking 80 to 90 to 90, greater than 95% with these darker reds across this area. Okay, so this is minor impacts. We go to moderate impacts. River Valley, from Fort Smith over towards Russellville, then the foothills of the Boston Mountains. They're going to get absolutely crushed with this. That's the one area that's a bullseye for me. The next bullseye is up here in southern Missouri, south central Missouri, far northern Arkansas. Okay, the cold there loves to just hang around here, basically east of Highway 65 and south of 44 in Missouri, across south central Missouri. Just loves to hang around there for some reason. So I think we're going to have extended periods of ice in those areas here, and then in the lower elevations of the river valley down here. Now, as we get into higher elevations, 1,500 to 2,000 feet, yes, you will get freezing rain. But as this warm nose comes in, it'll erode that colder air at the higher elevations faster than it will in the river valleys and the lower elevation, the lower valleys and lower elevations of south central Missouri into far northern Arkansas. That's why we're expecting there to be significant icing in those two places. Okay, so moderate impacts are likely. Expect some power outages, especially in these bullseye areas of the river valley to the foothills of the Boston Mountains, just basically north of Russellville here and into Fort Smith and just north of there as well. And then up here towards south central Missouri, basically southeast of I-44, based and then well east of 60, or I'm sorry, east of 65, south of Springfield, east of basically Springfield to Harrison, and then out towards basically Gainesville, the West Plains, Ava, just a few towns to throw in there. Okay, so let's take a look at probably. All right, so this is another piece of information from the weather prediction site. Probability of exceeding warning criteria for freezing rain. This was just updated from them a couple hours ago. So target is the River Valley, from Fort Smith basically to Russellville, and then it's getting really concerning across south central Missouri. There's actually even a higher chance up that way for exceeding warning criteria, which is let me greater than 80%. Okay, in this purple. So the reds here, basically, let's zoom in here from Fort Smith down to Russellville, just north of there, as you get into the foothills of the Boston Mountains here. That's where they're going to get absolutely crushed, and then going across the border over towards Oklahoma here. Just following that river valley here, the cold air is really going to sit there for a little bit longer. Hopefully, you guys can see this a little bit better. I'm trying to get that. So, Anywhere in the yellow, basically a 30 to 50% chance of exceeding warning criteria, which is a quarter inch or higher across the area. But like I said, there's a big bullseye up here across um, southern Missouri into northern Arkansas here. This is including the Mountain Home area, basic Mountain Home over towards Salem, then up towards West Plains, Gainesville, getting up towards Ava, Kabul, Houston, getting really close to Rolla up here. So this area up here is notorious for lingering that Arctic air even longer. Like I said, there's a lot of purple dashes in here, which means greater than 80% chance of exceeding warning criteria. So this is new information. The National Weather Service out of Springfield has not issued any ice storm warnings or anything as of yet. They may as we get into later tonight into the morning, but we'll see with that. But the chances from the weather prediction site saying that it could be a greater than 80% chance of exceeding a quarter inch of ice up here in southern Missouri and maybe even parts of far northern Arkansas. Okay, so those are the bullseyes here, and that's the exact same bullseyes that I have on my forecast map here. So let's go over, let's just go ahead and go over my prediction here of what we could possibly get. So, all right. So the impacts are going to be extreme. This is basically a level 4 out of 5 for me. There's going to be, there will be some sleet possibilities at the very earliest as this moisture moves in, encounters this drier air at the surface. So there might be some sleet mixed in at first, and then but it's going to be a primarily freezing rain event. So here's the, like I said, here's the bullseyes that I have. Another thing, if you do not know where a state is on a map or a county that's on a map, you need to know that because this is very important during winter weather and even more important when you have severe weather. So you know where you're at on the map, you know where your county's at on the map, you know where state's at on the map, so you can kind of tell what you're going to get here because we're basically throwing all the information out for you so you can see what you're going to get. Basically, we have a really detailed map here with all the counties highlighted here. We have some few cities thrown in here as well. We can't put all the cities on here, otherwise it'll just be a jumbled up mess and no one will be able to read the map. Okay, so help me help you. Um, need to know where your state is, where your county is at, so on, so on, because it helps you, especially in extreme circumstances during severe weather and especially winter weather as well. Okay. So anywhere in the the pink here, the light pink. So I think there's going to be a glaze, especially along the outer edges here. Um, Basically from Little Rock up to Poplar Bluff, up towards possibly Batesville, Pocahontas, stuff like that, down to Texarkana, far northern parts or northeastern parts of Texas, to Oklahoma City, Ardmore might be a little bit more there. So as you go in from this pink, basically where it starts on the very edges of this, expect a glaze, and then as you go in towards this purple area, this is where your amounts start going up. Okay, so one, I think Little Rock may get 5/100ths of an inch to a tenth of an inch, possibly in Little Rock, but it doesn't matter what falls because if it's either a glaze, a quarter inch, a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, um, all bets are off on the roads, basically. Okay, because we're going to be in the mid 20s, maybe even low 20s once the wet bulbing happens. But then when that happens, then the temperatures will start slowly going up. But basically, as we get all this ice built up on the ground and trees and stuff, it's going to act like basically an ice cube, and it might keep us colder a little bit longer as well. I don't think anybody's thinking about that either. So, and even when if we do get above freezing, say 32, 33 degrees, if the rain's still going and hits basically that ice cube that's on a tree, that ice accretions or the accumulations, it's going to freeze still because it's going on to an ice cube, basically, if you that makes sense. So, purple areas, basically east central Oklahoma, over towards western Arkansas, so excluding Fayetteville, northwest Arkansas. We're going over towards Harrison, maybe around the Branson area, and then southeast of Springfield, just south of I-44. I think a quarter to a half an inch is possible. There's going to be some locally higher amounts. Uh, it, I'm telling you, freezing rain is very finicky. Okay, so it could be you could live at about a 1,500 or 2,000 feet of elevation, and you can warm up faster than people at 500 feet down in like a valley, a creek valley, a river valley, so on. That's why we think that the river valleys is going to get absolutely smashed here, but the higher elevations could warm up faster. Okay, because the dense colder air likes to settle in these valleys and just kind of sit there, and there's nothing really to move it out fast enough. And like I've said a million times, models love to move out Arctic air too quickly, and now we're in trouble basically across the area. Okay, so basically with this red, okay, a quarter to 3/4 of an inch or higher amounts are possible. The reason why I said a quarter to 3/4 of an inch, because it all depends. Like it could vary between 4 to 5 miles. It just depends. Okay, depends on temperature, depends on your elevation, depends on a lot of different factors. So that's why I'm throwing out. You can either get a quarter inch, or 5, 6 miles away. You could get a 3/4 of an inch. All depends. There's a lot of hills and valleys through the Ozarks. So the colder air will like to sit in those valleys, and then you go up the hill there, you'll get more of a southwesterly wind, and it'll try to warm it up there faster up that way. So that's my concern there. Also, like I said, as this ice is falling, coats everything, basically acts as a basically ice cube towards the ground, cools everything down around it. And even though if you get above freezing, as we get above freezing, maybe 32, 33 degrees, as the rain is still hitting that ice that's already accumulated, it will still freeze. Okay, so still a big concern here. So um, target range, sorry, I'm getting off track here. Target range here, River Valley, Fort Smith, and Russellville, then into the foothills of the Boston Mountains here. And then the next little bullseye we have is far northern Arkansas, squaring northern Marion County, northern Baxter County, northern, I believe that's Fulton County over there, um, northwestern Fulton County, and then into parts of southern Missouri. We're talking probably Gainesville, West Plains, up towards Ava, um, Mountain Grove. Those are the few areas here, just southeast of Springfield, south of I-44, east of Highway 65. Okay, so those are the two target points at the moment that we have. Okay, so plan accordingly. Now that we have this graphic up here, let's go look at impacts, okay? Because there's going to be wind with this as well. All right, so let's get over here really quick. So we're going to have winds between 15 and 25 miles an hour, possibly gusts to 30. Okay, so even though this is the ice accumulation index, the Sperry Pulse ice accumulation index. Okay, so there's 0 to 5. Okay, so we're going to start out at 1 because we're going to get some places are going to get a tenth to a quarter inch of ice. This is with wind at 15 to 25 miles an hour. Okay, so as we get, if there was 0 wind, we wouldn't have to be talking about this. Okay, now that we're getting into 15 to 20, 25 mile an hour winds, it'll take less ice amounts to cause um, power issues. Okay, so a tenth to a quarter inch ice, 15 to 25 mile an hour winds, some isolated or localized utility interruptions are possible. typically lasting only a few hours. And like I've said a million times, the roads are going to be trashed regardless. Okay. So you get into level 2 here, 15 to 25 miles an hour winds, a quarter to a half inch ice, scattered utility interruptions expected, typically lasting 12 to 24 hours. Then we go into a level 3 here, get into ice amounts of a half an inch to three quarters of an inch at 15 to 25-mile-an-hour winds, numerous power interruptions with some damage to main feeder lines and equipment expected. Tree limb damage is excessive. Outages lasting 1 to 5 days. I've been preaching this for days now. I'd rather y'all be prepared and hope for the best, basically. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. All right. And I'm going to show you some of those best case scenarios and worst case scenarios here in just a few minutes. Alrighty, this is the current radar. Okay, so the short term models we're not picking up on this huge broad area of basically freezing rain across Oklahoma. It had it a little bit more scattered or isolated, but not this extent. So this makes me very concerned because this is moving east northeast. It's going to hit northwest Arkansas in the next couple hours here. Okay, then this is going to start tracking across into northern Arkansas, southern Missouri here, and then we're going to get another wave of moisture early tomorrow morning, and that's going to bring in some possibly convective banding of freezing rain, especially across the river valley and then up towards northern Arkansas as well. So we've had some freezing drizzle, freezing rain across northwestern Arkansas, sporadic reports, and it was enough to create some already slick spots across the roads that have not been treated. Okay, so need to be careful out there. Just north of Dallas, even it's some light freezing rain down that way as well. All right, I'm going to take you through the best and worst case scenarios here. So the GFS is kind of out to lunch. It's not showing a lot of moisture coming into the area. It's not. It's not. It's basically too warm on temperatures, but we can always be hopeful and hope that this happens because this is the best case scenario. Okay, so we could get through this without being without having a lot of power issues. So with this map, basically a quarter to maybe 4/10 of an inch across the river valley here, lighter amounts across the Ozarks, and then that bullseye in south central Missouri with a quarter to maybe 3/10 to 4/10 of an inch. This would be the best case scenario. So let's take a look at the middle ground model, which shows absolutely crazy amounts of freezing. Anyways, I'll show you the euro here in just a second, but you can see I'm kind of zoomed in because on Arkansas and southern Missouri because that's where I expect the worst impacts. Okay, so that's why I'm zoomed in here. But you can see what it does on the HRRR. This is the high res short-term model. You see what it does across higher terrain of northwest Arkansas. It warms it up quicker than it does across the river valley down here across west central Arkansas. And then here's that pocket that I've talked about, south central Missouri, far northern Arkansas. So this would be a little bit better outcome in the higher elevations, but the river valley and then south central Missouri is just going to get it regardless. Okay. All right, here is the European. It has come in a lot colder as we've been going through time here. 2 to 3 days ago, it wasn't even showing ice across the area. The Canadian has been spot on ever since for about 4 to 5 days on this. We've been talking about it for a week in the public page, so hopefully you all been paying attention. So the euro brings in basically the target from Fort Smith to parts to Russellville into the foothills of the Boston Mountains, a quarter to three quarters of an inch, possibly higher amounts over an inch could be possible if this model came true. This is trending colder, and I'm starting to believe that as well because of the ground truth temperatures versus what some of the warmer models are saying, like the GFS. The GFS and a lot of models totally busted on temperatures today between 3 to 7 degree difference between what models were saying was supposed to be versus the ground truth temperature at the time. So that is very concerning. Go through the area. Bullseye, South Central Missouri. We're talking, if this model came true, there'd be over an inch of ice. And that would be catastrophic across the area. Be numerous power interruptions, possibly lasting for a week up that way. Okay. So, in the general quarter to or a tenth to a quarter inch or a little bit higher across the Ozarks here, across that area. So, here is the Canadian. Let me get to freezing rain totals. All right. So the Canadian here, so as a general quarter to half inch, it actually brings it colder into central Arkansas, which is this has been a concern since the get go. Like I said, if it gets colder and this moisture comes in sooner, you're basically going to get a lot more icing in central Arkansas. Okay, before it switches over to rain. All right, north central Arkansas, talking basically the river valley here of a quarter to three quarters of an inch, and then up here towards southern Missouri, far northern Arkansas, where that ice accumulation map I just showed you, bullseye up that way. Okay, I've already showed you the HRRR, and all right, one more thing. So we have, let me get this overlay off. As we go through after this, basically through this storm in the next 7 days. We're talking 5 to 10 inches of rain possible across the eastern parts of Texas, most of Louisiana, and northern parts of Mississippi. This areas that we've been dealing with a lot of drought through this area. The issue is one, the ground is very cold or frozen. That's a concern. For one, two, we have dormant vegetation. So as this, and then three, we still have snow and ice on the ground down through here in parts of the area. So the issue is get heavy rain ongoing for days and days on end. We're going to have excessive runoff until the ground warms up by the probably towards the end of the week. So we're going to have excessive runoff into a lot of these streams and rivers, so that we're going to have some flooding concerns. Another issue I have too, I know the Mississippi River has been pretty low, but it's starting to come up now. We have 30 to 40 inch snowpack up here towards Iowa, into Nebraska, parts of Nebraska, into southern Minnesota. And a lot of that could start melting this week and get into the tributaries and into the major rivers here. And all that's going to come south eventually. So the Mississippi River is going to start filling up as well. So something to keep an eye on over the next 7 days or so. Okay. So basically travel impacts extreme across the area. And here's the latest glaze to a quarter inch. As you get, like I said, the outer fringes here is going to be a glaze. As you go in to the pink here, you're going to start ticking up a little bit more, like Little Rock, maybe 5/10 to a tenth of an inch. And as you get towards the purple, you're getting towards a quarter inch. Okay. So anywhere in the purple here, quarter to a half inch, possibly locally higher amounts. There are two bullseyes, like I said, south central Missouri, parts of northern Arkansas, including parts of Marion, Baxter, and I think Fulton County over here. Um, those are the target areas as of right now for possibly higher amounts from a quarter inch to three quarters of an inch of ice, or possibly higher across that area. Now, if you do not get those amounts, thank the Lord. This is one map I want to bust on. Okay, I don't want to be right on freezing rain. No one wants to deal with freezing rain. It just causes all kinds of problems. Okay, so this is a map I want to be wrong on for sure, but it is not looking that way at the moment. So, River Valley, Fort Smith to Russellville to the foothills of the Boston Mountains, quarter to three quarters of an inch of ice. All depends on location. Okay, stay below freezing for longer periods of time, you're going to get a lot more ice. If we change over to, if we get above freezing quicker, and so transition to rain a lot faster, our ice totals will come down. So this is going to be very finicky, but I'd rather you all prepare for the worst and hope for the best here across the area. Okay. All right. So basically those bullseyes: South Central Missouri, far northern Arkansas, and the River Valley of far eastern Oklahoma in through Arkansas. Um, Travel is going to be an absolute nightmare. Hopefully, you guys have been prepared for this. There's going to be a lot of travel issues until it starts warming up. And by Tuesday, Wednesday, some parts of the area here could be in the 50s and possibly low 60s, especially across Arkansas into um, Louisiana, Mississippi, into Tennessee, and parts of Texas, as well as we go through this pattern change. Get this cold air finally getting out of here and get into a southwest flow, but it's going to be stormy. Like I said, possible 5 to 10 inches of rain, parts of eastern Texas into Louisiana, parts of Mississippi over the next 7 days. Okay. All right. If I have anything else, I'll have another live with you all probably in the morning to see how roads are doing, stuff like that. Remember, you can check stuff like in Arkansas. There's iDrive Arkansas app. There you can see there's traffic cameras you can look at. There's you can see what the road conditions are like, and a lot of states surrounding has the same thing. You might want to check that in the morning, but the morning commute across some of these metro areas is going to be significantly impacted in the morning. So stay up on it. We will get through this, but there could be significant power issues across parts of the area here as we go forward into tonight, into tomorrow morning. Okay. So that's all we have for now. Stay safe out there. If you have to travel across this area, be very, very careful. Do not be going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. You won't be able to stop when this ice is falling as well. But I know some people are going to be looking out the window in the morning, be like, "Oh, it's just raining outside," and they get there, then they go step outside, and guess what? You got a broken hip or something because it's going to look like it's raining outside, but as soon as it hits that frozen concrete, the tree limbs, power lines, stuff like that, it's going to immediately freeze and cause a big coat of ice across the. And one more little quick tidbit here before we get off here. I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but a half an inch of ice on a power line from pole to pole, just one piece power line, half an inch ice will add 500 pounds of weight to that power line from that one line from pole to pole. Okay. That is, you wonder why they break so easily when you get a quarter to a half an inch. Then we're going to have wind on top of that. So it's going to take less amounts of ice to start having power issues across the area because of those 15 to 25 mile per hour winds. All right. Stay safe out there. Have a great evening. Please stay safe. If you have to get out, please, 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 please take your time. Use a lot of caution. It's just going to be a mess. Absolutely mess. If you don't have to travel, don't do it. It's just going to be absolute chaos out here on the roads, and we just don't want to see anybody get hurt or anything like that. So please take it easy if you have to get out in the morning. Stay safe, everyone. Have a great evening. We'll keep you updated here. Thank you for your trust.